Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Thank you so much for joining us for our full panel discussion on topics of interest to you, updates on new information as the university and the university community transitions to a new way of learning. We appreciate your patience and your interest, and we hope to answer most of the frequently asked questions today, but feel free online to post questions and they'll feed them to us, and if we have time, we'll definitely get to those. Otherwise, we'll definitely be following up. So, my name is Tess Cootie-Anders. I'm the Vice President for Strategic Communications and Marketing here at Trinity University. And I have with me three experts from the university community to take our questions. First, we have Eric Maloof, who's our Vice President for Enrollment Management, Dr. Michael Soto, who's Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, and Dean Tuttle, who's also Vice President for Student Life. So we appreciate all three of you being here this morning and this afternoon and working through some of the good questions that have come up. You know, we want to just begin by saying thank everyone for your patience. This was a rapid transition for all of us, but in true Trinity fashion, we are resilient, we're pragmatic, and we've moved quickly to adjust. And it's important that not only we on campus, but all of you be nimble and adaptable and flexible and creative, but most of all, have compassion. So we're going to speak to that a little bit today, even as we get into some details on some of your questions. So by far and away, the biggest question we've received has been about financial stuff, so reimbursements. So I'd like to ask Eric to begin by just describing where we are with the reimbursement plan related to room and board, the meal plan, and how those will be distributed. And then we'll move through some more specific questions that we received on the question form on the website. At some point, we'll also take you through a tour of the updates to the website so you know how to access it. But let's start with some of these financial questions. Eric, right. Can you tell us a little bit about how we're handling reimbursements prorated and how that'll be processed?
Sure. So we appreciate everybody's flexibility and patience during this time. As Tess mentioned, this is rapidly evolving, and we've really, we think, put together a plan that is student-centric, as student-centric as possible. So broadly outlined, we will be prorating, refunding room from March 16th through May 12th, that we will be reimbursing you on a prorated basis for the entirety of that room. For meals, we will be refunding you all of your unused meal swipes, including your bonus bucks. Those will be refunded to you as well. As it relates to your Tiger card, if you're not a senior and not graduating, those will be refunded. Those will actually roll over until next year. So those will be rolled over. If you're a senior, per usual, what will happen is that this will be refunded to you after graduation, along with your room deposit that you put in early on in your Trinity career. We are also going to prorate your parking pass. So if you bought a parking pass during at any point during the year, we are going to refund you a flat rate of $10 on that as well. As it relates to how we're going to deliver these rebates to you or refunds to you, if you signed up for an e-refund prior to March 17th, what will happen is we will direct deposit that into the designated bank account that you stated. If not, then we'll simply print a check and send that via mail as soon as possible. Right now, our Student Accounts Office is working furiously to get this done as early as Friday. That means that that process should be complete in the next few days, and then we will start to reimburse you at that point.
But at the outside, I understand that we're shooting for at the outside, April 10th.
That's right. Yeah. We have put out a conservative date, not knowing how quickly and the glitches that go along with this, as they're working literally around the clock to get this to you as soon as possible. We know many of our families need these monies now as they find temporary housing. Some of you are back home, but many of you I know will appreciate getting these monies as soon as possible. So.
You know, one of the questions we've had from parents is, and I think it's a really generous offer, can we roll over our room and board to just next fall? Right. Can you just address why that's not something we're able to do right now?
Yeah, we explored that. And what simple in simple terms, I mean, the complexities of providing rebates to some but not others was just too great given the current crisis we're in, and getting these out as quickly as possible. But one tipping factor as well is the Department of Education is continually updating us and putting, allowing you to roll that over might, we're not sure yet, but could affect your financial aid status for the next year. So out of an abundance of caution, what we've decided to do is just do a one-size-fits-all approach, which we think will benefit you.
As Eric, you mentioned that you guys are working furiously to get those out because students and parents, some really need that as quickly as possible as they make other arrangements. Would you and Dean Tuttle address the Emergency Assistance Fund, because that's kind of two sides of that coin, how that Trinity is making funds available and what the process is and what the status is on those requests?
Yeah, and I think this is why it's important that despite initially saying April 10th, that the bursar has been working a lot to get these refunds out as soon as possible for our students, because some of the requests really for the emergency funds are because the students are waiting on those monies.
Right.
And so I think if we can have those, as Eric is saying, optimistically Friday, Monday, that will help students a lot. Nevertheless, there are unforeseen issues that students have faced, and we're especially sensitive, I think, to whether it's technology requests, food insecurity, and things like that, that the committee is looking every day at the requests. I think we're up to about 150 requests right now. They're moving very fast on those, and it's a pretty immediate turnaround, I think, that those get refunded.
Okay, so once they're approved, the student is alerted, and then pretty quickly after that, they're getting the refund. Okay, right. That's awesome. And so, as a reminder, we have a COVID-19 website, which we'll share in a bit. But there is, in fact, we could share it now, Taylor, and I could show folks on the homepage where they apply for that Student Emergency Fund, if you don't mind. So here we are. This is the Student Emergency Fund application link, and so you click on that to move through that process. So if you've not yet applied and you need help, please do that. If you're having trouble with that or you have any issues, you can contact Residential Life or Dean Tuttle's office directly.
I would contact me directly.
Okay, and all the contact information is on the website at the bottom. So if you're having any trouble or you don't feel comfortable with the form in some way, we don't want that to be a barrier to you getting the help that you need. So please reach out if you need that.
Can I add just one more
Please,
thing?
Eric,
Because I know we've had a lot of questions, and a lot of you students are on a payment plan where you're paying monthly. Should you keep paying on this plan for the April 5th? April 5th is the last payment, and the answer is yes. Please continue that payment. The reimbursement that you will receive will reduce the scheduled payment on your. You may find out you have a credit, but just please pay. If there's any amount, that will automatically trigger. The reimbursement will reduce that to the appropriate amount.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. So another related topic here, Eric, is what's happening with work study. We have institutional work study, which is funded by the university, and we have federal work study, which is obviously part of a student's financial aid package. Can you just briefly touch on where we are with that and what communication is going to students who are in those two categories?
Yeah. So later today, all students will receive communication about what our plans are for paying out work study and what your obligations would be alongside that. The simple version of this is, as Tess mentioned, we have federal work study employees on campus, and the Department of Education has permitted us to pay you a lump sum payment, which will be issued to you on April 9th. So that will be the next scheduled biweekly pay date, and you will get a lump sum based on the average amount of hours you were working previously in the spring, and then pushing that out 7 weeks, for the rest of the semester. So you will receive that in a lump sum. On the institutional side, which is a little more complicated, we've already exhausted our federal work study dollars from monies from the government. So a lot of them, a good portion of the money that we pay out to the federal work study, those students who need the money the most, will be institutional monies. As it relates to institutional work study positions, we are not allowing students back on campus to work,
right.
But what we need you to do is get in touch with your supervisor, your direct supervisor, and see if you can continue that work remotely. If you can, then you will log your hours, and you will be able to continue to get paid. And I'm thinking of tutors, I'm thinking of a few
Sure.
different positions where we know that you're going to be able to continue to work.
The Writing Center is something that I know that Student Success is keen to have those students continue to support
correct.
them remotely.
Yeah. So we will allow you to continue to do that. If by chance you are not able to work remotely if in an institutional work-study position, then unfortunately, the last payment you received will be the last payment. We will not be able to continue that job from here on out. So we do have some students that they have both institutional and federal. Again, we will pay out your federal work-study. We still encourage you to reach out to your supervisor, but in the institute, so if you're doing both, the rules apply similarly.
Yeah, and if when in doubt, check with your supervisor because they will have all the updated information. And again, if you're in one of those institutional work study categories where for some reason there's no way to figure out a creative way for you to work remotely and log your hours, that's where we want to stress again, if that is a challenge for you, as it would have been for me when I was a student here, we do have the Student Emergency Fund. So make sure you consider that. So this is a question for kind of both Dr. Soto and Vice President Maloof. Can you talk a little bit about where we stand with study abroad programs currently and in the summer, sort of what the status is, and then we can talk a little bit about details on those.
Sure.
So you want to tackle that,
Sure.
Dr. Soto?
In all cases, we have asked students who have been studying abroad this spring to return home so that we can look out for their safety the best that we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
In almost all of those cases, our partner institutions have created mechanisms for students to complete those credits. And so
Great.
we fully expect students to be able to complete their study abroad experience from home. There are just a couple of cases where we are going to be working very closely with students and with Trinity faculty and put them in independent study courses so that they can make up any overseas studies credits that they were expecting with Trinity credits in their place.
And so what I understand you to say is that if there should be no concern that students who are counting on their study abroad credits in order to graduate, for example, or to move ahead in their progression at Trinity should experience any gap with that.
That's right. We are going to find a solution to make sure that students are making timely progress toward their degree.
This is the wonderful thing about being a relatively small university that can be personalized in its response. So I appreciate the hard work you guys are doing. I know as parents, everybody appreciates that, and students. So
Summer.
yes, let's talk about summer. Where do we stand on summer and fall? I know we're all just living kind of day to day right now.
As of today, most summer overseas studies programs have been canceled.
Okay.
With the exception of Costa Rica and Japan, which we continue to monitor closely, and we will keep all of the students who have applied to those programs up to date with the latest information as soon as we have it.
Got it. And fall is no decisions on fall from any of our program partners?
That's
or-
correct. We're
Okay.
still waiting to see what the situation is with our institutional partners, and we will, as always, keep students up to date with the latest information.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Can I address
Yeah,
one
please.
of the financials on the study abroad? If you are abroad and you came home and there's any refund of any kind that goes from your provider back to the university, some of them will refund you. It's usually room and board, especially if you're going back home instead of to another institution. Any refund that comes to us will be automatically sent to you, the family. So just a heads
Got it.
up on that.
And so, Eric, if we've not answered a really specific question that a parent or a student or other may have, can they just reach out to financials? Who should they contact with any questions about their account,
Yeah.
the status of things? What's the best place to go?
Anything related to your student account, just the balance or whatnot, please email studentfinancialservices@trinity.edu, and then we will get that routed to the appropriate person immediately and get a response to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I think that information is on the website, and if it's not, we'll make sure that contact information is also added on the website. But you can search it up pretty quickly on trinity.edu as well for student financial services. So, all right, so we are barreling toward Monday, March 23rd, when we will be moving to synchronous remote learning. So let's transition to Dr. Soto and start to address some of the things that faculty are doing to prepare and some of the things we're all working on together to communicate with students and just answer some general questions. Could we start, Dr. Soto, with you just kind of giving us an update on how faculty, what they've been spending their last 2 weeks doing to get us ready?
Sure, and over the last 2 weeks, I've had conversations with dozens of my faculty colleagues, and one of the recurring themes of those conversations is how much we miss our students. The energy and the intellect and the common decency that our students bring to campus is part of what makes our careers at Trinity so fulfilling. And we strongly believe in the Trinity mission of providing a transformative educational experience for these students. One of the things that results from this energy and excitement to work with our students is we're going to do everything we can to replicate that close-knit Trinity learning community online. When we encounter problems that stand in the way of this goal, we are going to figure out a way around the problem. And so for the last week and a half, our faculty have been learning how to engage students online, primarily using the Zoom online meeting system. As of yesterday afternoon, we've had 271 faculty go through that Zoom training.
Wow.
And so
That's almost everybody.
That's almost everybody.
Yeah.
And so this is something that is truly important to our faculty to get that part right. They're also learning how to handle the exchange of information asynchronously. If
Got it.
students aren't able to participate for whatever reason during the classroom period, faculty are figuring out solutions to work through those problems as well. And faculty are going to continue to learn throughout this process. There will be some hiccups, but I can assure the entire Trinity community that we are committed to getting this right, and we're going to make sure that our faculty have all of the resources that they need to. We've even developed a Keep Teaching website just for faculty so that they have the latest information and access to all the tools that they need to do their jobs.
And I've really seen faculty sharing best practices and creative ideas with each other, even outside of the official training sessions. So it seems like there's a lot of leaning in, if you will, from faculty on how to, we've sort of gotten over the shock of this and said, you know, in consistent with our value of, you know, excellence, that we're going to make this the best it could possibly be. So I think that that's important. So to your point about asynchronous, will there be an opportunity for faculty to record lectures so that students can watch them later if for some reason they're unable to participate synchronously?
That's right. The Zoom online platform allows faculty to record those interactions and to post them to their course sites on the T-Learn webpage.
Okay.
And many faculty are already planning on doing that for students who, for whatever reason, are unable to participate during the live instruction period.
Got it. So let's talk about students getting prepared. So I think one of the big questions students have is, how can I start preparing now? Are there instructions for me on how to use Zoom? Can I access any online training or information before classes begin? What advice and counsel do we have for them? And we can talk a little bit about some things we're launching, but
right.
Yeah.
So the first piece of advice I'd offer to students, take a deep breath. If you encounter any difficulties, we are going to figure out a solution. One of the ways that will help you figure out solutions is by directing you to the Trinity COVID-19 site, which includes a web page with materials devoted to helping students get the most out of their online learning experience.
Show that.
And that will provide some pointers for how to use the technology.
Mm-hmm.
That will provide some pointers for how to interact successfully online. And this is actually going to be a helpful career lesson for our students who are going to find that they have to do this as part of their professional lives on an increasing basis.
Well, and frankly, for our senior students, I have a feeling that after you graduate in the spring, sometime into the summer season and your first assignment, your first career assignment, you'll be working remotely, I'm pretty sure. Dean Tuttle, anything you want to add to that?
Well, I was wondering if Dr. Soto could address some of the anxieties that we've heard from students about, given in kind of steady state, the rigor and the expectations of faculty. I think students are wondering a little bit about will those standards be the same? Will the standards that they hold students to be the same, given that this is a different learning environment, and maybe just to ensure the students that we understand this isn't business as usual, to help them feel okay about that.
This is the flexibility and compassion part.
That's right. Well, one of the reasons why we love our work at Trinity is the intelligence and thoughtfulness that students bring to the classroom. We're not going to deviate from that expectation. We expect our students to remain the thoughtful and intelligent young men and women that they are, but we are, of course, going to be incredibly flexible when it comes to the logistics of the online learning experience. I am able to approve exceptions to academic policies, and I am going to be incredibly flexible when it comes to that. If a policy is standing in the way of students fulfilling their Trinity mission of a transformative liberal arts and sciences experience, I am prepared to help do whatever I need to get that out of the way of fulfilling that
And that's
goal.
something you've been doing.
Right.
This will just intensify or work in a new way
That's right.
as we move to online. So a related question to Dean Tuttle's we've heard is, are we considering just allowing classes to move to pass-fail for the semester, or kind of loosening pass-fail exclusions on prerequisites? Do you want to address kind of the whole pass-fail
Sure.
option?
That's a great example of one of the academic policies that I'm very willing to be flexible around. If a student can complete a course pass-fail without it satisfying one of our pathways elements or a major or minor requirement, I think I will be very glad to approve that switch.
Okay.
Really, at this late point in the semester, that's not going to be a problem. Even if a course applies to a pathways element or to a major or minor requirement, in consultation with the faculty or with department or chairs or program directors, I'm going to be willing to allow students to switch their registration to pass-fail if the instructor or the department chair can verify that that suits the purpose of the pathways or major requirement.
So they stay on track with their graduation
That's right.
plan. And so again, what I hear you saying is flexibility and accommodations.
But we don't want to do this across the board, because many students,
They need those
they need
grades.
those GPA points
Yep.
for graduate study, for any number of reasons. We want to give students the most flexible options that are available to them.
Rather than just blanket
Right.
moving everything to pass-fail. So related to that, students that require accommodations, whether it's from limited access to the technical requirements, or they have accommodations in the classroom now, how is student success and academic affairs working together on those?
Well, I should first point out all student academic accommodations remain in place if they are already in effect.
Okay.
And our Student Accessibility Services team, they're doing a great job sharing with faculty resources to allow students to take advantage of those accommodations in an online learning environment. And students should know that they have access virtually to all of the academic support resources that they would have available on this campus.
Great.
Not just student accessibility services, but academic coaching. They have access to the Writing Center. They have access to our Quantitative Reasoning and Skills Center. Everything that you would be able to do to support your learning on campus, we're going to make available to students online.
And that will all be housed on, again, on the website. There'll be a page on that COVID-19 website that you should all begin to familiarize yourself with, explore it, get to know it. New things are being added all the time, including this kind of Keep Learning and Student Resources page, so that you can have one place to go. You don't have to hunt and peck around. It's going to be one place you go, that COVID-19 website, to find access to those services, so that'll be good. So one of the questions we've received is, well, how do I do a Chem Lab or a studio art class online? What kinds of creative ways are faculty and academic instruction thinking about that?
Here's one of the real pleasures of working at a place like Trinity is whenever we need expertise in a particular disciplinary area, we have that on campus. And so we're relying on the creativity and expertise of individual faculty members to make a comparable experience available online. And so that's going to work differently for every one of our faculty members. But I can assure you that every one of them is committed to making those opportunities available online.
Awesome. What about, we've talked a little bit, thinking ahead to summer. The students are now thinking about what happens to, say, for example, my summer research. And as an extension of that, internships for the summer, ALE. Any updates that either of you guys can share? Anybody can share about that?
We are studying the best possible approach to making those kinds of experiential learning opportunities available to students. As soon as we have definitive information, we'll provide it online.
Okay, great. And again, we update the COVID-19 website daily at 4 o'clock with new information, and then we kind of push out, these are the updates, and you can look on the front page to see the hot topic updates, which summer research, internships, those kinds of things would be a hot topic update that you find on the website. I do know that Katie Ramirez in Celsius has been looking at this very carefully and has some recommendations that will be coming forward, so I think we'll have that soon. Is there anything else that we've missed on remote synchronous learning? So we've had faculty training for the last 2 weeks. They're going to be flexible and accommodating. We're thinking about creative ways to handle classes that have experiential learning components. We're not going to dumb down our classes, but we're going to be flexible in terms of getting the logistics moved through. Students will find resources for how to access and learn on Zoom on the website, with more coming. And if they have any questions, they should contact their advisor, or who would you recommend they reach out to?
They can contact their advisor if
Okay.
they have a question about any of the curriculum requirements. But if
Okay.
they have a general question about navigating their situation, they can feel free to contact me.
Okay, all right. And again, Dr. Soto's email address and information is available to anyone with a trinity.edu address. Here's a kind of specific question. Anybody know how you return rented textbooks to Barnes & Noble?
Barnes & Nobles will be, our Trinity bookstore will be sending an email to all students who've rented textbooks in mid-April with instructions about how to return textbooks.
Got it.
In effect, they're going to be sent a UPS shipping label, and students will be given instructions for how to box up and ship
send it
back
back.
their
Got it.
textbooks.
Okay, good. Everybody's thinking of the details. So this is a question that I think will lead kind of into student life, but starting with you, Dr. Soto. One of the hallmarks of a Trinity education has always been the relationship and the connection between faculty, and this is where you started, between faculty and students. Particularly, if I'm ending my career, my college career at Trinity as a senior, or particularly if I'm a new student looking to build that relationship, this disruption feels like it's getting in the way of that. What can you share with us? What kinds of conversations faculty have been having about how to help maintain and foster those connections as we go forward?
Well, as I said, faculty are going to go out of their way to recreate, to the extent possible, the kind of close and hands-on learning experience that students have grown used to here. And that's going to take a different shape depending on each unique discipline. But universally, our faculty are committed to doing that.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll find ways that while we can't meet in person, connecting offline is something
right.
that they're going to make available. Virtual office hours, those sorts of things will continue, I'm sure.
They will, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's great. That's wonderful. And frankly, we're all learning how to maintain our social connections in this new world order, and or temporary world order. And I'd like to also offer that, again, the university will be sharing ideas and tips and suggestions on how we can keep those bonds really close, both within the Trinity community and how you can do that in your life outside of Trinity. Because this is new for all of us, and we should be a source of information and good ideas about that. So, Dean Tuttle, let's talk about the things that make the other things that make Trinity Trinity, which is the sometimes too much of the proliferation of events and activities and things that we have on campus. What's that going to look like going forward if I'm a student leader or I'm a member of a student organization? And then we'll talk about specific events after.
Yeah, so Jamie Thompson and her team in student involvement has already been in touch with a lot of student organizations. Wills Brown has been in touch with the fraternity and sorority community, and so they're trying to find things that can be done with the social distancing that's happening. There are going to be some challenges, but one example might be like the Student Leadership Awards that happen every year that I know they're figuring out how to do those in a virtual way that, it will miss the personal touch, obviously, but it's something that will keep that going. So that staff is very involved with that. They're brainstorming a lot of things. I think we'll see some good ideas. I do want to mention that some of the best ideas can come from our students, and so Jamie Thompson and I, who advise SGA, we've been meeting regularly with Clara Carlson, the president and leadership of SGA. They've done a great job of collecting student concerns, most of which had to do with the areas that my colleagues spoke about today. And so they're conveying those to us. They're collecting information from students. I know Claire has sent some emails out to the student body, and so we appreciate that partnership and to have those ideas that keep coming. The idea to do something like this to try to bring down people's stress levels about what we're facing in the days ahead, that really came from SGA. They've assisted us they've served on the emergency fund committee, not looking at individual requests, but setting that up. So that kind of partnership with the students has been really helpful, and we appreciate that, and that will inform us on a lot of these decisions going forward about events and things like that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the big events. So the ring ceremony, graduation, honor ceremony, those things are big moments in our lives. Can you kind of address where we are on that right now?
Yes, so...
Or Dr. Soto, either of you guys.
Yeah, so I think we have been in the last week or so very much in triage mode, right? Yeah. And so there are certain things that have to get done, the synchronous learning, the clearing of the residence halls. I think the big event that people are most concerned about is commencement. Our seniors are already missing a lot of these connections that are really social, fun, and important to them in their senior year, and a lot of rituals. And so I think we're going to wait till as long as we can wait before we would make a decision about what commencement would look like. Obviously, in person is better, but that's going to depend on global issues more than anything. But there's already some creative thinking about doing a commencement at a later time, whether that's in the fall or in the summer, doing something virtually. I mean, if in a perfect scenario, if things subsided and we were able to have seniors back for a few days before commencement, if we were able to continue forward with commencement in May, to do some of those things, the tower climb, the ring ceremony, and things like that, the Twilight at Trinity. So people are very keyed into the needs of the students. And then from a technical standpoint, academic affairs and the commencement committee, they will have to make the real decisions about when is kind of a drop dead date on when they can plan something or not, based on printing programs and diplomas and getting people here. And there are students on that committee, I understand, as well, on the graduation or the commencement committee that are weighing in and providing ideas. According to the president's office, there are student ideas being represented and how that should move forward.
That's right.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that student voices, it's important that student voices are in all of these decisions, and that the university is thinking about how to do that. So we're kind of at the tail end of move out, but there are probably still some questions about how were exceptions granted, are international students being taken care of? If I still have things on campus, what happens? Can you just generally, Dean Tuttle, address move out and where we are?
Yeah, well, we have about 90% of the students out of the residence halls right now, including City Vista. It's been a really smooth process, mostly because of the great work of the students and their families coming to get them and move them out. The whole idea was to de-densify the campus because we're not equipped should we get cases on campus or have to quarantine people. We don't have the staff and resources to care for those students in a meaningful way. And this would be students that aren't eligible for hospitalization but need other things and other monitoring, right? So we were very clear from the start that we wanted exceptions to truly be exceptional. And so the vast majority of those exceptions went to international students who had restrictions on travel and had no place else to go. And then there were a handful of hardship cases where, just for various reasons, in some cases continuity of medical care, things like that rose to that level. It was really difficult to say no to so many people who made requests, because a lot of those requests were people who just wanted to be here for really valid reasons, because they have internships, they have jobs,
right.
Different things like that. And but that would have put, you know, several hundred people probably in the residence halls, which is a kind of flies in the face of the whole philosophy to get have as few people on campus as possible. So very difficult decisions. Students have been great about it, and very understanding, even while they've been disappointed in some of those decisions. We're down to under 30 people that will be on campus. We've lost about a quarter of those who were approved, and either their countries have called them back, their parents have felt anxious about them being here and called them back to their countries. And so I think we'll be steady at that 28, 29, 30 number.
So can you talk a little bit about what services are still available for those few students remaining on campus, and what services are available? We've talked about student success support is available remotely, counseling services, health services, dining services, sort of what that status is for both on-campus students who have exceptions, and if I'm in San Antonio or I'm remote, what can I access?
Yeah, so with the whole emphasis on social distancing, most of the services are going to be available on request for the students who are on campus. And so that would be health services, that would be some counseling services, and some of the academic support. But even those, a lot of those will be done remotely. And so there will be information, if there isn't already, on the webpage about how to access those services and to use those. But the main focus is the students that are on campus. The 30 or so students that are on, they have dining service in that there's 3 meals offered per day, and that will be available to those students. But beyond that, because of the social distancing, we're not going to have a lot of pizza parties or, you know, play Twister or things like that, right? But I do have plans for a croquet tournament.
By yourself?
No, because you do that with great social distance if you do it correctly.
But you can only play with fewer than 10 people.
Yes. Well, yes. Details are to be determined. But yeah. So you know, we would like the students to not have a lot of visitors to campus.
Right.
We don't want them to necessarily congregate, but we don't want them to feel isolated. Res Life, Deb Tyson, Rachel Boaz, and their team, they're figuring out ways to try to make this. To try to make the best of a bad situation. Absolutely.
Yeah, make it home. Yeah, and we should note that for faculty and staff, mostly staff, because faculty are needing to be on campus to help with instruction, but the campus is generally trying to follow a standard of working remotely. So staff in particular are not going to be in their offices unless they are considered very essential staff to keeping campus operations going. So it's not just de-densifying and social distancing with students. We're also practicing that with staff, which is why we're all more than an arm's length apart today, and you know, fewer than 5 or 6 of us in the studio. So just so you know, the campus is following that as well. So there was a really specific question, and I'm not sure which of you guys could answer it, about if I had a ring or an award from the honors ring ceremony, do we have an answer yet for how I'll get that, or is that coming?
I can handle that
one,
yes.
All right,
we're going to be working with the academic programs who are giving out those awards on making sure that students do receive the award, and we're going to find other appropriate ways to celebrate that success.
Okay, good. Another academic affairs related question. What about fall registration? Will that proceed as normal, or what's the timeline for that and how we will handle it?
Advising and pre-registration for the fall semester will follow the regularly scheduled timing.
Okay.
And so you can expect to be contacted by your advisors probably late March, early April to get you geared up for pre-registration in April. And that's going to be happening virtually, mostly by Zoom appointments. And our advising coordinator, Dr. LaPetra Bowman, she's putting together some tips for faculty advisors for how to get the most out of those online advising sessions.
Okay, excellent. We also have had some questions from students saying, you know, how do I follow up on declaring a major or minor or submitting a petition, you know, if I had to leave quickly and didn't get that done?
All of those bureaucratic processes that keep students on their path toward graduation are going to continue.
Okay.
Virtually, mostly by email.
Okay.
I've been working with our registrar's office to put together the processes and to explain to students and faculty how that's going to work.
Okay.
You can be on the lookout for that in the next couple of days.
Okay, great. So we're thinking about all the details.
That's right.
So Eric, we actually had some questions about prospective students too, and any of you guys can answer, but this one I think is specifically for you. If you have an admitted student or a prospect and they had the promise of a scholarship or an aid package, is that impacted by any of our current situation or decisions? They're asking if there's any impact to their current award or offer.
Sure. Well, as an admitted student, all of the aid that you were otherwise eligible for and you've received so far is valid.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be no changes, and that would be the same for our current students as well. Obviously, this is going to be, we will have some students who they will experience financial hardships through this crisis, either already have or will. We encourage them to contact Student Financial Services and explore a special circumstance form. As it relates to our admitted students, we are about to unveil a microsite, much like our COVID-19 site, thanks to you and your department for creating. We will be unveiling this very shortly, and we are going to bring all of our enrollment-related and recruitment-related activities virtual to you. So we're excited about that. It's obviously a disappointment that we're not having visitors on campus right now, but it's stretching us to think creatively and working in different ways to bring the Trinity experience to you and explain the merits of a Trinity education. So we're excited about that. We're going to be sending an email and out pretty soon to all of our prospects and admitted students about that, and we look forward to engaging on a daily basis with you. So.
And I want to quash a vicious rumor that popped up on the interweb that in some way us moving to synchronous remote learning was going to continue through the fall, that Trinity's basically just becoming an online learning campus. Can you dispose of that rumor for us?
Trinity is not becoming an online campus.
Boom, done.
That easy.
Answered. All right, sounds good. What have we missed, gentlemen? Is there anything that we've not covered? Dean Tuttle, anything you want to add that we've missed today?
Just a couple last things is that room reservation will be pushed back a week for residence hall room reservation, and I think it will be a 2-week process. And so students should look for emails about that. But that is an online process anyway, so that should go smoothly. SGA elections will be happening online, and they're working on that, and student involvement's working with other groups to work on that. Tess, as you know, you and I are active on the parent Facebook page, and so just want to acknowledge the support of the parents and the good nature of the parents in dealing with difficult situations, and so we thank that group a lot. And then just overall, I just have found our students to really rise to the challenge of all of this. While there are some tension points and there is a lot of stress on things, I think our students have been really understanding, really grateful, really flexible, and so that's kind of the nature of our student body for the most part. So that's been really great to see everybody step up and make the best of a bad situation.
Yep. Reasonable and practical, please.
Yeah, I was reading a Texas Public Radio or Texas Public radio.
Yeah, TPR.
Yeah, TPR article the other day, and it was focused on our students and the moving out, and it was right in the middle of, just there was confusion, and we had a senior student, Teresa Ho, was quoted, and if I'm remembering her tweet right, it was published in this article. She said, I didn't have a chance to say goodbye to my, the faculty, the staff, my friends, my classmates, and the final line was, I didn't realize I wasn't ready to leave. And I can tell you this place feels empty without you. So we really appreciate.
We really are.
Can I just add, Teresa, if you're listening and watching, I'll see you in class tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, but we do miss you guys. There's so many of you that we work with, whether it's in the classroom or we're staff when we work with you in our departments, and you bring joy and light to our work, and we're missing you guys. We really are.
Yes.
We had some general questions that I thought I would just knock out. Whether you're staff, faculty, or students, we really are trying to practice social distancing. First and foremost by working remotely and having meetings remotely. But if you are on campus, we are recommending that faculty and staff work like this. Very few people in a room and at arm's length, and to be sensitive about how other people may be feeling about being at an in-person meeting, particularly those of us who have people in our lives that might be in a high-risk category. One of our future live streams, I hope, will be with Dr. Marcy Youngdahl, who's the university's sort of chief medical officer. She runs health services. She's our physician there. And one of the updates I think she can share is that, we're learning new things about this virus every day. And one of the things we've recently learned is young people don't have a sort of a silver bullet, a shield, that we're all at risk with this. And so we would also encourage all of you, because we love you and we care about you, to practice social distancing at home. Few people, smaller groups, farther apart, at least for a little while, right? I know it's hard, but that will help to reduce the spread of this disease and keep you safe, because we want you to be healthy and well, because we care about you. There have been great outpouring of concern and support for all members of the Trinity community, including those members of the Trinity community who might be more hourly workers, who are impacted by a reduction in certain services. And what we want to share with our community is that even as those folks are working remotely, they are being engaged and continue to work. And if for some reason their job can't be done remotely, Trinity is taking care of them. There's no change in the way people are being paid for the foreseeable future, as we all come together, work together, do our part to just keep moving forward with as least disruption in people's lives as possible. We're committed to that for hourly workers, and we're working closely with Aramark and ABM that cleans the facilities, and they're contractors with us, to encourage them to follow similar practices as best it works for their business. So most important thing in all of that is to say this community cares. We care about everybody in the community, and that's a hallmark of being a Trinity Tiger, and we appreciate that concern is raised and that you share that kind of love and compassion for everyone. And let's go forth and be flexible, adaptable, and compassionate. And we're going to get through this. And if you have questions, you just ask. If you're unsure, if it's ambiguous, something messes up, something's glitchy happening, take deep breaths and just reach out and ask. I'm having trouble with this. And any number of people will rise to the occasion to help you, I promise. We are going to get through this, and we'll be back on campus in the fall, those of us who can be, and perhaps even some of you who are graduating and come back as alumni, and we'll reconnect. So thank you all. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here today. Yeah. Really appreciate you taking the time. We're all moving kind of at blinding speed 24 hours a day. If you have any other questions, please send them in. We'll try to get to them, and this will be archived on the website and YouTube. So pass it along. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe and be well.